Okay, I think we can start the final session of this symposium. So the first speaker is Marcelo Domine from CSIC ITQ, so one of the partners of the HIGFLY project. So Marcelo has been at CSIC for 15 years, developing catalysts for heterogeneous catalysts for a number of applications. Some of them are on biomass transformation, and is the subject of this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Xavier, and thank you very much to the HIGFLY organization for inviting me to give this talk. I'm a scientific researcher at the Instituto de Tecnología Química, ITQ, that maybe is known, but Avelino Corma, that is one of the leaders that now is retired or a little bit retired, like John Paul. He continues working on. And in this talk, and related to the HIGFLY project, in which we are partners, I will talk about a little bit how we are working during this last year, trying to put the catalyst, the solid catalyst, the heterogeneous catalyst, pushing the biomass processing, mainly the biomass derivatives processing. Okay, first of all, well, this is my outline of the presentation, a brief presentation of ITQ for those that do not know the center, an introduction, main strategy, and some examples of heterogeneous catalysis. Of course, I will talk about the catalysts that we develop inside or within the HIGFLY project, and some conclusions and acknowledgement. So the ITQ, this is the building. We are placed in Valencia. It's a mixed center between the Polytechnical University of Valencia and the CSIC, that is the National Council of Research in Spain. The personnel that we have at this moment is around 350, but we are growing too fast, and we don't have enough sites or place for everyone, so we have different buildings. This is the central building, and the main research area that we are working on is catalysis and catalytic processes development, but with different sublines or additional interest, like for example, as I show you here, I don't know if, no, the pointer is not working. Energy, health, water, sustainability. So that means all the areas or the topics that are surrounding this type of energy, fuels, and chemical production in a sustainable way. We are partners or coordinating different European projects, and we have two main departments, but well, forget this division, but in fact we work in the catalyst development and the reactivity that we can find for these catalysts in different reactions and processes. And one important thing is that we have around 50% public or private funding. So in this case, we have collaboration with a lot of industries, most of them from petroleum chemistry, because we have a very known or traditional knowledge in catalysis for refining. But now we are working on renewables, and of course, the catalytic part is very important. So I will not enter in details about why we are working on that. All the sessions before have talked about in a deep way in this part. So just remember that in the biorefinery concept, so we need to produce different type, or we are producing from lignocellulosic biomass or from biomass in general, different type of fractions by thermochemical or chemical or even biological processes. But at the end we have, well, we end with some intermediates and then some final products. And the idea is that we have integrated processes in which we are able to co-produce biofuels and biochemicals. I think that this is my main message to the audience, that it's impossible to make biofuels without making chemicals or biomaterials during the production. So co-production is essential, and increase the rentability of the entire process. Okay, and in my group, within the ITQ, I would say we are different groups. Well, my group work mainly on different type of, not mainly primary, but mainly secondary treatments in order to obtain different type of intermediate and product from different type of residues or renewable raw materials. So we are talking about residues from agriculture, also for urban residues, aqueous effluents, even plastics, and of course forest biomass or biomass, mainly having cellulose, lignocellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. And the idea is to produce fuels, but also chemicals. And I will show you some examples of how these two types of fuels and chemicals could be produced. And what is the main idea? So for this transformation and to be competitive, in order to give the renewable raw materials this valorization, we not only need to, I will say, be safe and clean, or use recyclable catalysts, or do not produce waste, so that means green and sustainable. But we need also, as Jean-Paul mentioned before, to reduce the reaction steps, because during biomass processing we have a lot of steps, and we need to reduce this reaction. Ideally, we need to make the reaction in one pot. For that, we need to use multifunctional catalysts, because if we use a solid catalyst for only one reaction, then the other, we need other type of solid catalyst or other type of processing. So the idea is to have one catalyst for making different type of processes in cascade type way. If we produce high added value product, it's better than if we produce ethanol or butanol. Yeah, because the price will give us an advantage. And then if we are producing a new product, this is even better. And for that, we need development of new solid catalysts. There are a lot of solid catalysts that are used industrially, and a lot of solid catalysts that are in development. But how we decide to go to the design of a catalyst, and what are the main principles that we follow. So the idea is, in nature, the main or the most selective and active catalysts that we have are enzymes. Okay? And enzymes have the particular that they have an isolated, homogeneous active center that is surrounded by an environment that avoid the entrance of different type of molecules and select only one type of molecule for make only one type of product. So this is the selectivity. And what we try to do with the solid catalyst is more or less the same. So that means we create a surrounding of the isolated metal active site, for example, by using a micro or mesoporous structure that will act as this type of envelope of the protein. Okay, so this is the idea of the make an active and selective solid catalyst. How we work? We work with different type of inorganic structures. Yeah, this is the beginning, so that means we can have, for example, ordered structure like microporous zeolites, silico-aluminate, or even silicates. Or we can go to mesoporous materials. The difference between that is that we have here micropores around less than 1 nanometer, and here more than 1, 2, until maybe 30, 40 nanometers, depending on the mesoporous material that we are using. In the middle, we have some intermediate type of materials, zeotypes, the laminated zeolites, hierarchical zeolites that are named now. We can add different kind of red oxide, acid site, or mixes of this type of active site by incorporating these transition metals or noble metals. Of course, we have, as usually, amorphous metallic oxide or mixed oxide, in which we can also add some metal nanoparticles that will have some activity, redox or acid activity. And we have also other type of materials, MOF type materials, core shell type materials. So depending on what we need to do, depending on the reaction, we will try to find the better material. Of course, these are the cheapest one, and when we go to this one are a little bit expensive. But if you need to use MOF or core shell materials, these are even more expensive. So taking into account that we need to go to the conversion of biomass, and we are trying to be as cheap as we can, so the idea is not to use very expensive catalysts. Yeah? So this is the first idea that we have in our group, trying to produce the catalyst, but as cheap as we can. And for what? For treating or processing hemicellulose fraction or cellulose-enriched fractions or lignin fraction. So I will just put some examples of this type of activities that we are working on. In the case of hemicellulose fraction, I will mention the HIGFLY activities, but also another ones. And in the case of cellulose or C6 sugars, we can, visit a little bit the isomerization of glucose to fructose. That, for me, is a very interesting process. And also the production of higher alcohol from bioethanol. And then at the last part of the talk, if I have time, some lignin fraction processing that we have made within the Ideal Fuel project, European project. So we have made a lot of catalysts, but something that was very important for our group was to study different type of metallic oxide and mixed oxide. So we learned, for example, that in the case of hydrotalcite, that are very known materials, and we can, for example, make different structure, laminar structure, by constructing one laminar oxide to the other laminar, hydroxide, then after calcination made the oxide. So we can put magnesium, aluminium, another type of metal. But if we put, for example, copper, we are able to have this type of materials, copper, magnesium, aluminium, in which we are controlling not only the amount of copper and the acidity or basicity of magnesium and aluminium, but also we are able to control the species of copper that we have in the material. So, for example, for making the glycerol dehydration to acetol in a continuous bed reactor, that was very, very efficient. So the production of acetol is given by the presence of copper +1 species, mainly. And for that, the same catalysts were used also for CO2 plus hydrogen production of methanol, because the species that works are copper +1. So it was very important to make the fundamental study in this type of materials, with operando characterization and so on, to understand why these copper species work and how we can control the presence of these copper species in the material. Another thing is that learning about the mixed oxide and how to process or to control the presence of the different metals in the mixed oxide, we're able to produce these calcium aluminum type materials. These are a specific hydrotalcite, not very common, because calcium is prone to go out the structure of the zeolite very, very fast. But in certain type of synthesis, we are able to produce calcium aluminum materials that are very good, for example, for the conversion of glucose to fructose, via isomerization. And we go to a continuous flow reactor system. I will show you this specific reaction because it's very, very, very important for the production of the fructose syrup. that then we can use for different type of applications. So from the cellulose, so we have the glucose and the isomerization to produce fructose that is actually produced by an enzymatic system using an enzyme. And the process is a multi-step process that consumes a lot of water and is one of the largest biocatalytic processes in the production of these sweet syrups. Okay, and why? Because from the fructose we can obtain different type of products, hydroxymethylfurfural, mainly this FDSCA, oxalic acid, levulinic acid. So all these chemical products are very, very interesting and important. But the enzymatic production of fructose, even if it's work and is efficient, could be changed, but because of this high costly, we need pure glucose and we need the use of buffer solution to stabilize the enzyme. So the heterogeneous catalyst could be a good solution. And we have one problem, is that there are a competitive reaction that is the epimerization of mannose. So we will need to control this reaction. So these are the colors that we will use for this reaction. Isomerization is green, epimerization is, I don't know, purple or something like that, okay? So we make different type of catalysts, and we compare the catalyst, the calcium aluminum mixed oxide with calcium and alumina in order to see, of course, calcium oxide is very good because the reaction is made in basic media. And when we use different type of calcium to aluminum ratio mixed oxide, we will see that when we have higher ratio, 3 or 3.4, the conversion is better, and the selectivity to fructose increase, and this is more or less the optimum with a selectivity to close to 90%. That is very good, okay? But we go a step further, and we study the kinetics of the reaction. And we found this, for example. This is an oscillating system, okay? Why? Because this is an equilibrium. This is an equilibrium reaction, so we arrive to a limit, and we are not able to convert and produce more fructose. And when we arrive to the limit, then we conduce to the epimerization of the reaction. They go back. And then when they arrive to the limit, they go out and they go back. So how to control this? By the catalyst. If we have a good catalyst, we are able to, for example, inhibit this isomerization to mannose, and this epimerization will not be taking place using the adequate solid-based catalyst. And this is what happened here. So if we increase the calcium-aluminum ratio, so we increase the basicity of the material until one point, because too much basicity is also detrimental for the reaction. So we have a optimal, and this optimal is this 3.1. And when we have this, and we put the catalyst several times, this is without regeneration, we decrease the activity, but after regeneration, we have 2, 3, 4, 5 cycles, and the catalyst is the same. And we put this catalyst in this is a batch reactor, but we put a fixed bed reactor, and it works. It works again, so we change the flow and the reaction conditions, but at the end we have selectivities close to 80–90% with a very good conversion, an average conversion, and the catalyst could be regenerated and reused again several times. We compare the result that we have in this work in terms of fructose yield with the two different catalytic processes that are using solid catalysts and the enzymatic processes, and you can see that our yield are better. Nevertheless, we also make some very basic sustainable or green metrics calculations, and we can see here that our process is in the middle. So the enzymatic continues being the best process in terms of sustainability. Yeah, more atomic economy and less E factor. Yeah, because it's more selective. The problem of the enzymatic process is the water consumption. This is and the cost. But in this case, we are not taking into account this type of parameters. So we have a very good process for fructose production. We can use a continuous flow reactor, and this is a lab scale. So we are now trying to make that I would say pilot scale, mini pilot scale, and it works. Well, this is another process. I will change a little bit. C6 sugars, you know that in the fermentation process could produce bioethanol. We have here people from Wageningen. Sorry for my pronunciation, Anna. But you can produce via fermentation the bioethanol, but the bioethanol then could be transformed into another kind of alcohol to jet, but also alcohol to higher alcohols, butanol and then C6, C8 higher alcohols that are also very important from the chemical and also from the fuel point of view. So we have worked a lot with Abengoa when Abengoa was exciting. So now it's breakdown, and this allow us, for example, to produce or design a new type of material that is a palladium gallium doped mixed oxide that works very well for this reaction with high selectivity. It works at low conversions, but in fact, the yields that we have compared to the state of art, that is a DuPont catalyst, the copper supported material, is better and is more effective in terms of energy consumption and the high productivity that we have, the low metal content, etc. So we make some experiment because these results are not only in batch reactor, but also in fixed bed flow reactor. And after more than 600 hours, so we have very good conversions. And this is the fresh, sorry for the Spanish, this is the fresh catalyst, this is the used catalyst, and then when we regenerate, we have again exactly the same activity. So this is patented. The patents are licensed to Catalyst. Catalyst is a joint venture company between some company of the US and a Spanish company. We demonstrate the process at pilot scale, and we hope that in the next year the first industrial plant will be producing at small scale, but industrially, this butanol in this case. So this is a success story. It's not usual. For us, it's 1 in 100 or something like more, but sometimes occurs. And we come back to the C. Well, come back. No, we go to the C5. So the C5 could be, as we have seen in the previous presentation, go to furfural in the HIGFLY project. So the idea is to go from the aqueous effluent containing C5 sugars, and mainly silane or xylose, via hydrolysis to furfural and other bioxygenated. So as Fernanda said before, so we need to compete with the conventional sulfuric acid catalyst, homogeneous catalyst, and for that we try to design a new solid acid catalyst. So we have previously studied some hydrothermal synthesis of metal oxide. In this case, we have published niobium oxide. This is not the commercial niobium oxide, it's a hydrothermal synthesized niobium oxide that is a pseudocrystalline niobium oxide with a specific structure close to the bronze type structure that has enhanced textural properties and acid properties. So it's more acid than the normal niobium oxide commercially available. As you can see here, for example, the stability test in water for different condensation reactions show that it's close to the Ceria zirconia reference catalyst for this type of reaction. So that means that it's very resistant to water ambience. And in fact, we have developed for this specific xylose to furfural transformation tungsten niobium bronze type mixed oxide that has Bronsted-Lewis controlled or tuned properties, able to produce from xylose a moderate or considerable amount of furfural in water, because we are working always in water and not in a biphasic system. Okay, so what I will show you here, that this is the same slide that Fernanda showed in the morning or in the afternoon, I don't remember now. So we have prepared by incorporating incorporation of niobium in the structure of the tungsten oxide, and you can see here that we can fine-tune the composition of the material, and we conserve or maintain the structure of the bronze-type material, and we have an optimum for the conversion of xylose to furfural that is around this area. We have correlated this optimal composition with the acidity and the composition of the system and the yield to furfural. So we have here in the maximum, and we have also demonstrated that this system is stable even if we are reusing several times, and the structure shown by XRD diffraction shows that the patterns are the same even we are working several times or reusing. In fact, we have received a suggestion from someone from the audience saying that if we put this catalyst during 2 weeks in water in the reaction conditions, the structure is maintained, and the answer is yes, and the metals are in the same amount at the beginning. Okay, so the problem is that each time that we are reusing the catalyst, we are putting more humins in the catalyst. So the humins could be reversible, removed, but it will have a limit. Okay, the catalyst will die after the final lifetime. Okay, so one step forward. This is not the end, because we worked a lot to develop new type of materials, and this type of material are confidential. I will not show you the names or what are the composition, but ideally are mixed oxide, and you can see here that are named at 1, 2, 4 as this, and the 4 is the better one. So we have practically 50 or 60% yield of the furfural in the same reaction conditions, and you can see here that in fact it depends on the type of surface density of acid site that we have. As much as possible we have, the better is the catalyst, and the catalytic activity, as you can see, is in an optimum. And more importantly, again, the material remains stable after several reactions. Okay, so now we are using this. This material is patented, and now we are using the material for further reaction within HIGFLY and in other projects. 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. So from furanics to aromatics. So someone said that, I think that TNO presentation say that we can go from furanics to different type of compounds. One of these possibilities is go from furanics like furfural or HMF via hydrogenation to this 2-methylfuran or 2,5-dimethylfuran, and via Diels-Alder produce this type of paraxylene or toluene, that means BTX. That is possible. The answer is yes. But the catalyst that we need for that have some requirements. It should be acid, but not so much, because we will retain the aromatics that we are producing, and then we generate coke, because aromatics are precursor of coke. Adequate combination of this Bronsted-Lewis acid site, high chemical and thermal resistance, low carbon deposition during the reaction, reusability, regeneration. So apparently this material that we are creating, the tungsten niobium oxide, mixed oxide, could be a good candidate for that. But one of the problems is the production of coke, or the production of carbon deposition. So even if this is one of the development that we are producing, so we are also testing some mesoporous materials. Okay, why? Because these mesoporous materials have metal incorporation, so isolated active site, but they have a very high surface area. So meaning that after carbon deposition, they continue working. And this was the idea. And we make some SBR 15 modified system, but we also use another type of materials, MCF, MCM41. And as you can see here, it is published. You can go to the paper. So we can tune again by incorporating different type of metals, the activity and the selectivity of the catalyst. And here we have the production of, well, the conversion, the selectivity to paraxylene, and the yield of paraxylene that is very low. But if we compare with zeolite, for example, that is the material that is always used, it's more or less at this round, or even lower. And you can see here that the main point here is that we can tune the Bronsted-Lewis moderate acidity of the systems. I will finish, I will skip, because, well, this means that we are, with the composition, getting in high acidity and high selectivity and activity to the different systems. And as 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Yeah, no. Okay. Just no. I will finish. I will finish. So the idea is that to design the heterogeneous catalyst is not easy. It implied a lot of different kind of people and of disciplines because we need to make the physical. I will skip that. That it was lignin. It was very interesting, but sorry for that. So we have different type of discipline involved, and the idea is to have these new efficient catalytic processes with multifunctional nanostructural materials going through this integrated biorefinery for co-production of fuels and chemicals. And I finished.
Thank you. Probably move